we can see your screen.
It's visible, right? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Aisha, before I start, I would like to thank Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors Forum for collaborating with IEEE BUP student branch and inviting me here to join with this session, to join with you people and make a speech around you guys. So thanks once again. Okay, so without any further ado, let us get into the cloud insights about the cloud carrier. So far, it was a great session taken by Kaiser, Asif, and Vijay Bhai here as well. They have explained you about a depth about how virtual machines work. They have talked about a very few complicated topics like virtualization, distributed environment, layer of abstraction, containerizing, hypervising, and so on. These concepts are quite complicated, and I think on a very first note, when you're starting to learn about cloud computing and so on, it's quite hectic. But still, I think you have got a quite nice glimpse that how can you create your own virtual environment, how can you deploy your environment, and how can you create your own Netflix environment as well. And you can stream your own servers. So you guys are already one step towards how to work on cloud. So we will not get into depth of how cloud carriers work, but first what we can do with this information. Since most of you are programmers and developers here around, I can see the participants, few of them I know already who are quite good at development. So let's see and let's break down how we can start and we can grow up with this. Basically, the cloud carrier actually is divided into three main steps. You can build or create an environment. Since you have learned about the virtual machines today, you have already learned how to deploy deploy a software that you have developed through the virtual machines, or you can stream, or you can even deploy a game that you want to play online. That Vijay already said that you can deploy about Cyberpunk and play Cyberpunk online through virtual machines. So I would like to say you have already one step ahead to create with the development skills. So the first step, that is, you can already build and create through the virtual machine environment. The tough and the hectic part that comes is the virtual machine support, where the most of the cloud carrier and the cloud jobs are actually involved. The cloud, I would like to break down the support that the cloud server provides. Is actually divided into a few steps. Let's go step by step. The cloud developer. Actually, the fact is that when you have learned in depth about how the cloud system works, the APIs behind the cloud networks work, how these virtualizations and these deployments work behind the cloud networks, you have got a good glimpse and good control over it. The cloud developers actually design and develop the softwares that the cloud network or the firms that want to assure about the cloud environments they want to create and sell it as a service. They hire the cloud developers. What does the cloud developers actually do? The cloud developers design and develop the software applications, and they deploy it through the cloud. Today, you have already learned about the designing, about the deployment part, how to create a virtual machine and how to deploy the systems. So, and since most of you already know how to develop and design software, so I think you are already a step towards being a cloud developer. Congratulations, everyone. You are a step into it. Moreover, the next thing that is involved in cloud computing is that the cloud administrator. The cloud administrator is a bit step ahead to the development part. The cloud administrator is actually quite experienced compared to the cloud developer, and cloud administrator helps to maintain the cloud system and the administrator. I would like to explain it. For example, a firm is developing a system and deploying it through Microsoft Azure. For example, let us think that the software firm is developing a complex and quite heavy game that you can't play, or it's tough to deploy through the servers by the firm. So that firm is deploying it through the cloud servers. So they will. So they are going to include some cloud developers, cloud game developers, and who can develop the game and also deploy it through their virtual machines. Then the thing they need to do is they need to maintain and administrate the entire gaming process, so that there is no problem. The gamers the users who are playing it streaming it through the online cloud service, they don't face any problems. So the administrator has to make the solve those problems through the problem solving skills, and when the problems occur, they need to ensure that the users does not face any problems and the business does not fall behind. So that's actually about cloud administrator. The cloud architect actually helps to develop the business plan and set up and manage the cloud architecture. They help the business to identify the right combination of cloud services to meet their needs and set up an architecture to support these needs. So there might be a bit of confusion in amongst you guys that what is the main difference between a cloud architect and a cloud developer. The cloud developer mainly focuses on the entire system development. The cloud architect actually focuses on what type of systems the business need to develop and what type of users the markets they need to analyze before the architect develops the software. The developers develop the software. That's what the architects do. They plan the software, the developers develop the software. Administrators manages the software so that it does not fall into any other problems. The most critical part that comes into the cloud computing role is that the cloud security part. There are a few concerns that come into account when the cloud developers and the cloud computing systems firms they work with cloud computing systems is that there's a security issue. The cloud security issue that comes in front of the problem at hand is that there might be the complexity about the visibility of the data. You might be facing a bit of traffic while you're streaming the information. You're streaming something on Netflix, but if you can see that the Netflix is jammed, the server is jammed, then definitely it's going to be a problem that a Netflix is going to get down on the share market and it's going to impact their images as well. So a visibility of the data is quite a complex security issue. The most complex security issue is that the cloud breaches. There might be insider threats for the cloud computing environment. This is quite a serious fact in the cloud environment, for which most of the cloud security developers are hired and they are paid so much. The reason is that a number of firms these days are working just to build malware threats and interact with the other firms that are developing their softwares and hack those softwares. Simple words, they try to hack and disrupt those processes that the other services are using, and they try to sell the data they can extract, or even if they can extract the entire service they're providing, then the company that was intruded gets completely disrupted. So this cloud breach is quite a hectic part, and this is where the most cloud security professionals are required. Misconfiguration is another part where cloud architects and developers, they are also humans and they make mistakes. So configurations need to be corrected, and where the firewalls fail is the place where cloud security professionals try to figure out why the networks and firewalls are failing. So we can move on to what some roles that we can pursue within the field of cloud computing. Some roles that might include the infrastructure engineer. You have already learned, Kaiser have explained it quite nicely, that there are three basic types of services: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. When you are actually deploying infrastructure as a service, you are using the storage and servers for deploying to the infrastructure. So some firms who require these softwares, the infrastructure engineer all are there to help them with that part. Software developers develop software. Software consultants help to develop the firm, helps that firm who wants to deploy some softwares through the cloud network, who can't afford it through their own computers. The word that Vijay Bhai used, Podado crap computers, those who can't use it through the Podado crap computers, they deploy it through cloud networks. That's where the software consultant come into hand. And another part that system architects I've already described to system architects, the technical support, the security supports, and the administrative supports. Those are the part where you can also take part. The last part that I have included in my breakdown was that the business part. Apart from just development and technical parts. Let us think that you don't have any development or designing skills, but still you can be a part of the cloud network. If you have this business or finance or enterprise skills, that management skills, that project management skills, how to manage a project, the development, agile development or the Scrum development strategies, you just need to know how the cloud network works and the virtualization or the virtual machine works. If you know that, and have those information, those business skills and those management skills with you, you can get qualified into the cloud computing environment as well. You might get recruited as a cloud analyst. Sometimes you can get included as the project management or cloud management experts as well. I would like to discuss about some of the reasons why cloud computing, working in cloud computing is a right choice. The first and the most foremost important part of this is that cloud computing has really competitive salaries. As the industry of the cloud is growing, the salaries are also getting really, really high. It is said in UK that the average salary is around £62,000. I have brought some insights for you from the Glassdoor.com, who actually provides quite clear and visualizing information about the salaries that are actually the cloud network providing. So the cloud developer engineers actually make an average salary of $95,000 per year. It's 95,000 bucks. An average software engineer makes around 55 to 60 at their entry level, where the cloud developers is starting at 75 and they make average of 95,000, which is huge. The next part is that the cloud architects. The cloud architects since they make the business plans for the business firms and make modern things for them, they make an average of 107,000. Starting is around 80,000 for the cloud architects, which is again a lot of money. And cloud security engineers also make around 100,000. They start at around 75,000. At experience level, they make around $130,000 US dollars per year. Cloud computing has more ways to make progresses. Since this is a growing sector, the sector is rapidly growing with companies spending more than on cloud computing every year. Experts predict that by 2019 it's going to be 229. In 2019 it was 229 billion. It's going to be 500 billion by the year 2023. Since the space is getting highly costly and the expenditure is quite high to make money to afford the services or the computers that we are using today. For example, Asif has already explained that from the data center that he's using, he already has an internet speed of 100 megabytes per second. I don't think even all the participants and me included, we join up together, we won't be able to make 100 Mbps bandwidth speed together, or even make close to it. So with such networking speed, it's actually quite hectic and quite high to afford such such services. So we think so it's actually the cloud computing is quite helpful for the people who are unable to afford such computing abilities. The cloud impact in a report by Forrester Vice President Dave Bertoletti, the impact that the cloud computing is making is actually disrupting other technologies, the development processes. When you have a software development firm and you have to invest around millions of dollars to just set it up, and whereas another firm is working with the cloud services and they can make the same amount of business profits with a quite less amount of investment. So you can already know why such high impacts are why cloud computing is leaving so high impact in the IT industry. And since the cloud computing is increasing, the cloud services are rapidly changing in the mainstreams. So cloud computing in future is becoming quite a secure job as well. There might be a question before I close that what are the cloud carriers or the possibilities that we have in Bangladesh right now? You might ask that question, and before anyone asks that, I would like to say some farms are already starting to make the cloud services. ISP providers have already started to make purchase cloud environments, and they are already hiring cloud developers to deploy their service through the cloud networks. So cloud networks has quite immense possibility in our country as well. And in the near future, I believe the cloud networking is going to be at a great height. That's all from my side. I would like to ask if anyone has any sort